Hey guys, how's it going? I had to make this video as soon as I'm done recording this video. I'm gonna release it right away. Like, holy crap. Jeremy finally talks about cannabis stocks, and he even got monetized, which is crazy. If I put weed in my videos, I get demonetized. I get a yellow flag, so I won't get monetization on my channel. And Jeremy got monetization. It's funny how his monetization works, because he basically after I started doing this, I noticed that on his channel he started doing it. So is he secretly watching me and be like, hey, wait, I can put more monetization on my channel? So he did it because, you know, why not? It's money. His views don't go down. It's still the same, and he has more monetization. He has more ads on his videos. So I do go overboard because I'm greedy. I admit it. I'm not lying. I'm greedy. I try to make as much money as I can, however I can, except for working a full-time job, because I would not do that. I would not go back to having a labor job. I want to grow my business through YouTube, through my stock market mastery, which I'm working on. So Jeremy finally talks about it. I have to say, Jeremy is probably never gonna be super rich. I mean, his gains are always gonna be between 10 to maybe 30% at best. On an average, I guess, maybe a 20% if he's very good and lucky. He gets about 20% a year overall from his from the stock market. Some years he can get 10%, some years he can get 5%, but Jeremy plays it extremely safe. He goes after dividend stocks, he goes after super safe, profitable companies, and he's very diversified. And he's only like 29. He's not playing it very aggressive. He's lucky that he has a big, massive YouTube channel, and he has a lot of followers, and he's talented at making videos. He's lucky that way. If he was in my position, he'd probably still be working, because I can't make a living off of YouTube. He has a family. I don't have a family. I just have like lots of money and no family. Like, I don't have a family to take care of. The only person I'm taking care of is myself, and I live extremely frugal. So, and then I throw all my money into the stocks. Anyways, let's begin the video. I probably talk way too much. This is gonna be a long video. It's gonna be like a 20-minute video. Jesus. Anyways, let's begin with the video.
Quarters, I need to report a murder. I'm about to get murdered in the comments section.
Ladies and gentlemen, the day has finally come for me to talk about weed stocks, marijuana stocks. The day has finally come. So many of you guys request this all the time. Unfortunately, a lot of you guys are going to be very disappointed by today's video. I'm going to give you 5 reasons why I will not touch any marijuana stock out there, any weed stock across the board. I'm going to give you 5 solid reasons. Now, I can already see the comments incoming. Oh my gosh, Jeremy is such an idiot. Look at how much the weed stocks are up. This is going to be a huge industry. I already see it coming, okay? I know I'm going to get flooded with comments like that. A lot of people own a lot of weed stocks. It's been a very hot space. Money's been flooding in over the past few months, like last 6 to 12 months especially. Money has just been flying into the space, and you have a lot of retail investors that feel some kind of way about this industry. So I already understand. I've taken heat before on the channel many times, okay? I remember when I did the Bitcoin one, like nothing will ever top the hate we got for that Bitcoin video. That was the most insane ever. We posted that, it was like the end of November, beginning of December, sometime around there, when Bitcoin was about to peak, and my goodness, we never got that much hate. So I'm expecting hate on this video. I've already come to the conclusion we're gonna get it, but I'm just here to tell you guys the 5 reasons why I personally don't own weed stocks and have no plans to own any of them across the board, all right? If you own them and you're doing great on them, congratulations, you do you. I'm gonna do me. I hope you guys really enjoy this. Hit a thumbs up if you do, and let's get into this. Alrighty guys, the first reason why I will not touch any of these weed stocks out there is flat out too early days for me, all right? It's too early days in this industry, in this sector as of right now. I cannot tell you who's going to be the clear-cut winner 5 to 10 years from now, all right? It's way too early days in this space.
For that. Too early days. If you don't invest early into a new industry, you don't make a lot of money. I mean, I get his style. I have respect for his style where he plays safe. He has a consistent revenue from his YouTube and from his people that follow him. So he makes gradual money over time. He really doesn't need to go heavily into a high risk stock to make a ton of money, but also possibility of losing a ton of money, because anything can happen in business, especially in a new industry like cannabis. I totally respect that. I totally understand that, but I made thousands of, I literally, through my entire time I've been on the stock market, because I invested into AMD, which was a high risk stock back in the day, and I invested into Aurora Cannabis, which was also a very high risk stock back in the day. Because I invested into those companies, I managed to be able to become a millionaire out of basically nothing, like very little. I 10 times my money in the course of 2 years, but over the course of maybe 8 years I've been in the stock, I at least 100% my portfolio every single year since I've been in the stock market at the very beginning. At the very beginning, I didn't make any money. I didn't make any money for like 2 or 3 years before I really truly started making a lot of money on the stock market. So that's all I really have to say about this. Let's continue with this video.
All right. So many companies are coming out of nowhere that are starting companies, things like that. It's just way too early. I'm a late stage investor in companies, okay? I'm someone that comes in and invests in companies when I can see who's going to be the clear-cut winner in that space, okay? I can come in and invest in a Facebook or an Alibaba or something because I can tell they're going to continue to succeed for years and years into a future, okay? I come into an Eli stock or something like that because I see that they're going to have a lot of future. I see Monster, early days Monster, I wouldn't have invested in that company back when it had, PEs in the hundreds or something like that. Not saying you can't make money that way, because you can make money that way. That's just not the type of investor I am. I'm the late stage investor. I like to see the financials. I like to see a management team. I like to see a sector develop, and you can see kind of the advantages this company has against that company, the branding this company has against that company. In the weed space, in the marijuana,
Jeremy does not follow the cannabis space, because I follow it very closely and I do see a development in the cannabis industry. He doesn't, because he is more focused on safe, long-term, reliable companies. I admire Jeremy. He's a pretty smart person, but he doesn't like taking risks.
The stock space right now, you cannot tell any of that, okay? And once again, this doesn't mean you can't make money in the space. I'm just saying, from my perspective, it's not what I do. It's like me saying to a venture capitalist or an angel investor out there who only does startups and deals with that type of space, okay? Come and invest in stocks. I'm investing in late stage companies. They would say, why am I going to do that? That's not my thing. I invest early days, okay? So for me personally, I invest in late stage companies where I can understand the brand, understand the competitive strengths. I don't know where weed pricing is going over time, okay? I don't know if it's going to fall through the floor a few years from now if all the competitors come in like crazy. I have no clue on any of that, okay? So for me right now, it's too early days, and that is reason number one. Now let's go ahead and get into reason number two why I don't own any of these stocks. Reason number two why I will not touch any of these stocks right now is flat out their valuations are absurd. If I could find a stronger word than absurd, I would use it. They are flat out ridiculous. One of the most popular marijuana stocks out there is a company named Canopy, okay? This Canopy company has a valuation, a market cap right now of $10 billion.
I have to agree with him that the valuations on certain companies like Tilray and maybe Afria and Kronos, maybe they're extremely overvalued, and Aurora too, I guess, in a sense. But Canopy's receiving $5 billion. $5 billion in cash for literally 18% of the company. So, if, he does not mention that in the video entirely at all. He just mentions everything that is bad about the cannabis industry, but he should at least mention the $5 billion that Canopy received from Constellation Brand for 18% of the company. Basically, Canopy is Constellation Brand now. That is not officially Constellation Brand until they pay another $5 billion. Until they pay for $10 billion, Canopy does not belong to Constellation Brand. But it's ridiculous.
$10 billion, you say, that's a massive, massive number. What is this company doing that they deserve a $10 billion valuation, this company? This company last year did $77 million in revenue. They did $70 billion in net loss. That's the worst financial statement I may have ever seen in my life. People like to dog on Tesla's financials sometimes. I say Tesla looks like the golden saint next to this company. This company brought in
first of all, the only customer for Canopy at that time of those reports were the medical patients. That's like what, 85,000 medical patients, let's say 70,000 medical patients. They still haven't tapped the legal Canadian rec market. They have tapped the international market, but the international market is coming online very fast now, the medical international market. And they still haven't tapped the United States market, which Constellation Brand basically lives in. So it's so easy for Canopy to be moving into the United States. So like I don't know. It's just he just makes Jeremy doesn't do the research. He just looks at the balance sheet of weed stocks. He doesn't watch any videos. He doesn't follow any press conference. He doesn't investigate the company further than just financials and numbers. That's the reason why he cannot see the future and the vision of cannabis, because he doesn't follow that industry very carefully. So you can't hate on him for not, because that's not his interest. He just has no interest in cannabis stocks. His interests are in Alibaba, Facebook, like Apple, Amazon. So you can't blame him for coming up with a video like this.
revenue of $77 million, and they found a way to lose $70 million, guys. That is the most insane thing I ever heard. Meaning, not that I'm saying this company won't grow into that valuation. Maybe they do grow into that valuation right now. But what I am saying is there's no way you could make any case why Canopy deserves a $10 billion valuation right now, other than hope it will grow into that someday, okay? Hope that it will grow into that someday. We can't just go throwing around ridiculous valuations on things all the time. I can say, oh, let me sell some stock in the financial education channel. We grow every single day on this channel. Revenue just goes up, the subscribers just go up, the views just go up. It's consistent. We're gonna be at 10 million subscribers someday and getting 100,000 plus views of video. I could go ahead and say that, right? But at the same time, that also might not happen, all right? And the same thing with Canopy. Can they grow into a $10 billion valuation someday? They can. Are they gonna? Who knows? It's ridiculous to put a $10 billion valuation on a company that had $77 million in revenue last year and lost $70 million, okay? So once again, maybe they grow into it someday, but you know, right now these valuations on these companies are absolutely parabolic. They have gone crazy, and this happens in the stock market, okay? It happened in the tech boom. Everybody got so excited about the space, and tech is gonna be huge, and everybody piled in this space. They sent up valuations to ridiculous numbers. Something like this where companies would bring in $50 million in revenue, but they would have multi-billion dollar valuations on them, and it's like, okay, some businesses, you know, had virtually no revenue or a very, very minuscule amount and would have $1 billion.
Like, I can't argue with him about the tech boom. The tech boom, a lot of people lost a lot of money. A lot of stocks went up massively. But you also have to remember that some big giant companies came out of the tech boom, like Google and like Intel, and I guess AMD benefited from the tech boom, maybe 2000s. So the valuations crashed. It went through the floor. That is that is definitely a risk factor. So like, you gotta remember that stocks don't go up forever. You gotta keep a level-headed mind when investing into cannabis stocks. At least this is just my opinion. And it is very hard to find the valuation of these companies, because you have to be so like future forward looking. You have to basically understand the company to the core, like as much as possible. So yeah, it is definitely tough to get a good evaluation on these companies. Let's continue the videos. Except for Canopy, because they got $7 billion in cash. That's why I invested $250,000 into Canopy.
Valuation on that company. That is what is happening with some of these companies, the Canopies, Auroras, you know, a lot of these different companies, you know, we see across the board that I talked about all the time. So all I'm saying is these valuations are absurd based upon where their businesses are and probably where their businesses will be over the next couple of years. Maybe someday they grow into those valuations. We just don't know as of right now. So being the fact that it's too early days and these valuations are absurd, just those two off the bat, I'm like, why would I want to get into any of these stocks? Let's go ahead and get into reason number 3 why I don't own any weed stocks. Reason number 3 why I don't own any of these stocks right now is that so much depends on regulation with these companies. There's so much. These valuations that we know are insane right now. They have these insane valuations on these companies, all right? But yet so much still depends on regulations and who legalizes and when do they legalize and who's going to be allowed to sell into this market. So much is still, you know, who knows right now. That's not a good thing when you're looking at it from investment standpoint. You like to, at least myself, I like to invest in things where I kind of understand the regulatory environment. I understand, okay, there's a good chance of this law getting passed. There's a good chance that this law won't affect the company that much. Things like that. Right now in the weed space, we don't know. I can definitely see a day in the United States of America when weed is perfectly legal in every single state. I can absolutely see that day. Ask me what day I see that on, and I have no clue, okay? I don't know if it'll be 2020, if it will be 2025, 2030, 2040, 2050. I can absolutely see a day when marijuana is perfectly legal in the United States of America and pretty much across the world. It will be accepted. I can absolutely see that day, but do I know when that day is? I have no clue, and no one has any idea on when that day. So much of this industry is so dependent on regulations right now. We just don't know. You can look at the dispensaries, the refineries, all this type of stuff. Like, we don't know like how much is going to be regulated, how much will not.
I have to say about the regulation is it's a risk factor. Everything has a risk factor. That's the risk factor in cannabis. You have to rely on regulations, but then he admits in this video that he sees eventually the entire world will accept it. So if you were a long-term investor and you pick the right company, you will make a lot of money in the future. At least this is my opinion.
Be regulated, how heavily, how much will that impact, you know, the product sales in the end? How much are these things going to be taxed at? We don't know any of this right now. So much is still up in the air. It's ridiculous, guys. So until we get a real clear understanding of that, it's another reason I just cannot touch this space right now. Let's get into point number 4 why I have not touched these stocks yet. Point number 4 why I will not touch any of the weed stocks right now is flat out there's a lack of experience from management of these companies as far as being public companies. So many of these CEOs and CFOs and COOs of these companies, right? They've been public companies for a very small amount of time. Some of these just a few months, some of these maybe a year or two. That's most of the weed stocks out there, all right? They do not have a lot of experience as far as being public companies. We don't know how they're going to perform as a public company. It's a total different world out there. I've seen so many CEOs, you know, who maybe have a success.
I think he's like, he doesn't have the right to say lack of management, because I don't think he investigated very heavily into the management like me or maybe you guys who are watching my show. We watch every video of Bruce Linton. We watch everything of all like I watch everything. I follow everything in the cannabis industry. I watched all of Namaste shows. I learned so much. I learned so much from the cannabis industry. I learned so much how the stock market works in the cannabis industry. That so much has happened since I've been invested in cannabis. Like, I've seen ridiculous evaluations. I've seen stocks, like stock reverse splits. I seen stock splits. Like, before, when I was investing into safe companies, the only thing I knew about was a stock split. I didn't know about shorting. I didn't know, like, I learned so much being in the cannabis industry that it's just so mind-boggling. If I was to teach someone else everything I knew, they would be completely confused and they'd probably blow their head off. Oh, okay, sorry. They would, like when your head blows and brains go everywhere because like information overload, kind of. Anyways, I think I rambled long enough. Let's continue. This video is so long. I'm sorry, guys.
As a private company and then come into the public company space and just completely fail. It's a totally different ballgame. You have to deal with investors all the time, wanting to make profits. And a lot of them are different. So some people want to make profits short term, on day trading, some more short term, like we want to cash out over the next few months. Some people, as far as long term, you have analysts to deal with. You have, way more publicity as a public company. We don't know how any of these management teams are going to react. They haven't done it for long enough, okay? And I've been talking more and more about good management teams, and when you invest, you want to invest in a good management team. Flat out, we don't know which ones have good management teams. Once again, you cannot just judge somebody off of a private company, because when they were a private company, you didn't know anything about that company, okay? You don't know what was going on behind the scenes. I've seen it time and time again where a company comes public, and within a year or two, that management team, you can just tell, is just going down and down. Next thing you know, that stock just goes down and down and becomes a garbage stock. So right now, with the lack of experience from upper management of these companies, it's another reason I just cannot touch these stocks right now. Let's get into the last one, point number.
Hi, I'm Colin Bruce from the Colin Bruce Mortgage Team. We've had a ton of people ask us about our borrowing.
The fifth point on why I will not touch any of these stocks right now is there are going to be 2 to 3 main winners in the space, and I don't have a clue who those 2 to 3 main winners are going to be when I look out 3, 5, 10 years from now. I have no idea who those 2 or 3 winners will be, all right? I could maybe guess, but that would be just that. It would just be simply a guess and maybe who will be the winners. I have no clue right now on who will be the winners. Is it going to be the company that has the best branding for their products? Is it going to be the company that has the most distribution? Is it going to be the company that has the most cost savings, the one that goes cheapest? We don't know any of that as of right now, okay?
That has the most capital, which is Canopy, and that has the most infrastructure, which is Canopy. Aurora has a lot of infrastructure, but they don't have they're missing the $5 billion. So they need a large investor to invest into their company in order for them to match Canopy. Let's continue.
This space is going to play out for many, many years in the future, and it's just not clear who are going to be the 2 to 3 main winners. When you think of, let's say the alcohol space, right? There are 2 to 3 beer companies that honestly completely dominate the beer game in the United States of America, all right? Same thing over in Europe, all right? Sometimes there can be some niche players that come in the space and whatnot, but really there's 2 to 3 companies that dominate, and that's pretty much almost every industry you could look at across the board. There are 2 to 3 main players who become the really big companies there, and then there's a few other little niche players that are just, remain to be small companies forever and ever. I don't know who the 2 to 3 main winners are going to be there as of right now. I don't have a strong opinion on that. So it's just another reason why I cannot buy any of these weed stocks right now, okay? Too early days for me. The valuations are absurd. So much depends on regulation right now. There's a lack of experience as far as being public companies for pretty much all these management teams out there and almost all of their executives. And who knows who those 2 to 3 main winners are going to be in this space. It's so early days in this. It's so hard to tell, what company's strategy is going to work the best out there. So for that reason, I cannot personally touch any of the marijuana stocks, any of these weed stocks right now. Let me know what your guys' opinion is down there in the comment section.
Okay, so I want to talk about this one. He talked about AMD a month ago, when the stock just had its earnings and the stock was like $18, $19. If he invested it in that time, he was like, okay, like he was talking positively, but he's like, I don't know, I still can't invest. And then, but if he took the risk, he would have made some money. He would have bought it at $19 and it would have went to $25. He would have made us 20% profit instantly. So like he obviously does not follow AMD very closely. He maybe follow Amazon very closely because he talks about Amazon a lot, but I don't think he follows AMD very closely because the balance sheet looks bad, the revenue looks bad. I mean, the revenue is okay, but the balance sheet looks bad, and that's why he can't follow AMD. But he doesn't understand the industry. He doesn't understand I say AMD could go to $30. I think he can go to $40, $50. Having a $50 billion valuation compared to Nvidia that has a $127 billion valuation, AMD's cheap. AMD's cheap. Okay, so I said that I would make a video on my tax-free saving account, but since Jeremy came out with that video, I had to make a video on this, and I'm going to release it right away because I would love a conversation with you. But tomorrow, I'm going to be updating you with a video for my tax-free saving account, how I put in only $25,000, wait, no, sorry, $28,000, and now it's like a $366,000 account. I basically 10 times that, more than 10 times, like 11 or 12 times that account within a couple years. So, because I took risk, I got to where I am today. Maybe I'll lose it all, but I really don't think so. We'll see what happens. I mean, yeah, there's risk factors. I have to, in order to make a lot of money, you gotta have to take risks. Period. Like, you need, like, in order to make like 50%, 100% in like a year or 2 years, in a year, you need to take risks. Like, you can't make 100% of your earnings buying Apple or Amazon in a year. Maybe you can, but like, if you invest now and you made 100% in a year, oh my god, I'd be so scared that next year to invest into any of those companies. But anyways, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you dislike this video, please give me a thumbs down. Subscribe for future updates, and have a great day. Holy crap, 27 minutes.